Hello everybody, welcome back to another Sunday special. Today we are going to be taking a look at some of the currency pairs, some of the major currency pairs and the week ahead, and looking for potential trade setups or ideas going into this week. I'm going to go through my fundamental and technical bias going into the week ahead and give you guys all of the trade sort of ideas that I see, at least in the near future here on some of the major pairs. We're going to look at euro dollar, pound dollar, and gold at the very least, and maybe we'll jump over to some other things as well. So I want to invite you to sit back and enjoy the analysis. If you have thoughts on any of these pairs, feel free to leave your comment down below and let others know what you think about some of the ones that I'm looking at. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is, of course, the euro dollar. Now, the euro dollar is going to be one of my favorite potential short biased pairs for the time being. Now, the reason is, I'm going to real quick hop over to my tier list here for you guys. You can see this is my currency tier list. This is basically the currencies that I am most interested in being long at the top and short at the bottom. So you can see I've got the Canadian dollar and the New Zealand dollar up at the top and the Japanese yen and the Swiss franc down at the bottom. Well, you can actually see that the euro is down there at the C tier level, where you have the dollar in the B tier. What that means for me is that there's a slight bias, more interest for me in the buying the dollar and selling the euro. Now, when we jump back over to the chart, we can kind of take a look at the euro dollar. Let me get this pulled up again. And we can talk about the fact that we've sort of shifted directions here. Now, if we remember, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that we've seen some really good bullish trends here. I've caught in the past, I was pretty bullish on the euro dollar. But here, as things have started to progress in 2021, I think that the euro dollar may have had its move for the time being. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm 100% all the time correct, so I could be wrong about this, but I have a general bias towards the sell side. I have had that since we started to form lower highs right around here. I started shifting to the bearish side of the euro dollar. Well, why? Let's really quick, I'm just going to talk to you guys about generally why my fundamental analysis towards this pair is to the bearish side. Recently, we had good numbers in terms of NFP. I believe last week on Friday, or I guess 2 weeks maybe, depending on when you watch this video. Last week for me, there was good NFP numbers for the US dollar, right? That was a bullish thing. We had more jobs created than expected, and unemployment was less overall than as expected. So that's good for the US dollar. We also have sort of a push overall in the US dollar. We can actually go very quickly look at the DXY. This is the US dollar index, and you can actually see that it's on a nice little technical reversal sort of pattern. We've got this long-term low, and then a higher low here, kind of a potential inverted head and shoulders, if you will. Okay, so generally we've had a nice little turnaround as the dollar has gained some strength. We also saw yields rise significantly in the last few weeks. That's been a pretty bullish catalyst for the US dollar, as people there's a increasing yield on the 10-year bond that is considered potentially bullish for the US dollar as well. As it might mean that, okay, well, people might need to go, if they want to go buy those bonds, what do they have to buy them in? US dollars, right? So that could cause some demand for the US dollar. What about the euro? Well, the ECB actually came out this week and said that they are going to be buying more of their own bonds as well. Potentially a bullish thing for the euro, and arguably the catalyst for this move that we had this past week. Anyways, why am I still biased overall to the downside? Well, again, I think that the U.S. economy bouncing back stronger than the euro may lead to some continued bullishness for the U.S. dollar against the euro. We also, on the website, let me see if I can pull that up for you guys really quick. We could pull up fundamental analysis. We can just go here, and you can kind of see that if we go down to GDP, the GDP in the United States has actually been pretty good compared to the euro, which is still struggling to bounce back fully from this whole pandemic. Now, the whole world is in recovery mode, so it's more of a matter of who is the best of the worst, not necessarily who is pristine and perfect, if you will. So generally, I have a bearish bias on the euro USD favoring that US dollar. And, you know, my idea there is also, I think that the overall economy for the US should bounce back at a more rapid pace than the euro. That, again, these are all my opinions, but again, that's what goes into my analysis here. So now that we have that fundamental bias, or at least that I do, the question becomes, well, where's the technical entries? Well, I'll just give you an example. I am actually currently short on the euro dollar in this supply zone. Okay, so I shorted last week as price was moving up into this supply zone. So it gave me the pullback that I wanted. So price shot down, started to pull back, and I ended up getting short. I do have stops in place. So if the trade goes against me, then no problem. I'll just take a small loss. But I am really anticipating a potential move here on the euro dollar down longer term, maybe not right away, but longer term to 1.16. And again, I know that, 2 months from now, if I'm wrong about this and we see a reversal and something changes in the fundamentals and the technicals just all look bullish, then there will be somebody who comments on my video and says, see, Nick, you're an idiot, you're wrong. But the point is, this is my thesis. I have a plan here. I know what I'm going to do if I'm right, and I know what I'm going to do if I'm wrong. And that's the more important part about trading. It's not about being right all the time. It's about making it count when you are right and not letting it destroy you when you're wrong. So anyways, that's my thought there on the euro dollar is I have a bias to the downside as we enter into the supply zone. If that doesn't work, I very well may look for another entry point. And of course, I will share that with members inside of our private group. If you're not already a member, there's a link down below in the description to join our Discord, and you can see the trades that I'm taking, as well as access to our chat rooms, our live webinars, all sorts of stuff. We've actually just started a recent webinar series where Joe, one of our coaches at A1 Trading, he has been going live and doing some day trading analysis during the day with some of the members there. So anyways, let's move on to the next pair. That's my general bias is to the short side here on the euro dollar on the 4 hour and the daily. Last thing I want to say, daily, I think the real big technical barrier, I will say, for bears that will have to get over is a break through this 200 day. Again, the 200 day is a very long-term area of value for a lot of longer-term traders and even investors. So as we do pull back, there may be some hesitation to get through this 200 period. But if we do break that, I think that would give us the need in terms of a technical break to move down to 1.16. Okay, that's what I've got there on the euro dollar. Let's move quickly to the GBP USD, and we'll talk about this one, which took on some heat towards the end of the week. We saw sellers come in hard here on Friday, got that end of the week reversal. You can kind of see that if we pull it up on the 4 hour chart. Here we are steadily chugging along. Buyers looking very, very strong. And then all of a sudden, we had some end of the week pullback pretty sharply on the pound dollar. Now, generally, I am pretty much a bull on the pound dollar from a technical and fundamental perspective. Generally, the UK has done a pretty good job at rolling out vaccines compared to other places. However, we recently also heard in the US that the Biden administration is, I think it's May 1st, they're going to try and make sure that anybody who wants access to the vaccine can get it. So that is potentially also bullish for the US dollar, as more people out in the world, things getting back to normal sooner is good for economies, right? So a little bit of a mixed sentiment there on Friday, but generally speaking, I think that the UK is still ahead on that. And for me, is still a bullish overall market. However, we're not at a level of interest for me just yet. If price does pull back maybe to this zone or to this zone, both of those areas look pretty good to me for potential pullback buys. However, I'm not just going to jump into those. I would probably not want to have too many open positions that are correlated to the US dollar. I talked a little bit about that on stream this week, but generally, I don't want to be buying GU, EU, New Zealand dollar, right? Aussie dollar. I don't want to, if I take longs on all of these trades, they're all impacted by the US dollar, right? So I don't want to overexpose myself to the movements of the dollar, right? Because if I took 1% risk, 1%, 1%, 1%, and then the US dollar spikes against me, I actually took a 4% risk by correlating my trades all this way. Does that make sense? I hope that, let me know in the comments if that was confusing too, but maybe I'll make a video on that or something. But generally speaking, as we came into resistance here last week, we did find supply. So for sellers, if you caught that intraday move, then very nice, congratulations. But I think generally I'd be more interested on the swing trade side of things at a pullback around 138.50. So we'll see if that can come into play this week if we want to come back down and test this zone. But generally, more on the bullish side here, looking for that trend continuation if it wants to play out. And if it doesn't, then I'll have a stop in my trade and it won't destroy me. That's the main point of a stop loss. Let's move on to gold, because I know gold has been a popular subject. We did get a bounce back on gold this week, which was very, very interesting. I still think that this is, for the time being, a seller's market until we see something change, because you can notice as soon as price really came into a level of supply, look how strong bears got. Again, we are very sold off, and there is that argument that, long term, will this thing go up? I think so. But short term, it is up in the air, and sellers are still strong at a couple different key levels. Now, I will say for the bulls out there on gold, this higher low is something to watch. I would say from a purely technical standpoint, ignoring the fundamentals for a second, if this thing breaks higher and does one of these moves, that could be a potential reversal. If we can break through this downward structure here and put in a higher low, that could be another inverted head and shoulders sort of pattern there. So something to watch out for gold on the bullish side. If you are a bear on gold, which I would lean bearish, but I don't really like to short gold as often as I like to long it, just because super long term, I am bullish. But anyways, if you are a bear, I think that you do have maybe some opportunities looking short along this downward structure here, and you've got some supply levels to think about. Now, again, that's not financial advice. These are all just my opinions on these streams, so please don't go shorting this and just go all in just because that guy on YouTube said it might go down there. The point is, I'm sharing my thoughts and my analysis and my reasoning why you should go do your own due diligence before placing any trades. All right, so in terms of gold, I think you do have pretty strong resistance here at 1770 to look out for. But again, this trade also arguably has been fueled by a strengthening US dollar and higher yields. I've explained this a few times on my channel, but we talked about how gold versus bonds is kind of a when you have people who are balancing a portfolio and they're investing, not guys with $1,000 in their account, but people that have hundreds of thousands, millions, and billions of dollars to handle, they have this conversation where they're like, okay, well, I want to diversify the portfolio. Do I put my money in gold or do I put my money in bonds? And when when treasury yields, which has been on the rise, when that has been rising, there's an argument to be made that why would I take gold, which is volatile and offers no yield, when instead I could buy bonds which offer a small percentage? Even if it's small, imagine if you have $1 billion. Would you rather put it in something that returns something and is basically a guarantee? And the closest thing I guess you're going to get to a guarantee is a government bond from the US. Or would you rather buy gold, which is in no way a guarantee that, your money will gain or appreciate or even beat inflation? That's the argument. And when these bond yields rise dramatically, there's the argument that, okay, people are pulling their money from gold and they're saying, nah, gold ain't it. I'm going into bonds for the time being, right? So that's the theory. That's the idea, or at least one concept on the table. And that's just the fundamentals for gold. So for the time being, until that sort of narrative changes, I think we're in a bear or a seller's market there for gold. Okay. My thoughts there on gold. I hope that was helpful to you on that one. I know a lot of people like to trade gold. Let's take a look at another. We're going to do a bonus one today. We're going to talk about dollar yen, which has been heavily on the rise. And you might say, well, Nick, is it time to short? It seems high and maybe this is a double top. And although maybe it is, I am generally bullish on the US dollar compared to the yen. And so, as I've said a few times on streams, generally I am looking more to buy the dollar and sell the yen. Though, just because I'm bullish on the dollar compared to the yen does not mean I'm going to go buy it at the highs. I'd be more interested in buying it at a technical pullback. So I will be watching for this week a potential pullback to 107. I do think that this market does look a bit stretched and that it is due for a pullback, but I'm not going to try and short it because, again, my bias fundamentally is generally bullish. So I think that for sellers, if you do have an interest on the sell side, this area is one to watch. This 109.5 seems to be, right around the corner and seems to have already given a little bit of hesitation to bulls trying to push this thing higher. So I'd watch that if you are a bear. But in terms of bulls, for me as a swing trader, I've got to see it pull back to here, but maybe there's some day trading that could go on. And you can see we did get a nice little round out there before price shot up. So for day traders, maybe there's some short-term moves to capture as well. But again, for me, interested mostly in a pullback and really would love to see a pullback to this trend line here that we formulated off of this bottom. We really did form a nice bottom there. We've been forming higher lows, but again, when we get a bit stretched like this, for me, it's not that I'm going to go short this, but I'd be more interested in a long after a nice healthy pullback, right? Get rid of some of the greed buying, look for a discount, enter with a little bit more of a nicely defined risk. That's what I'll be watching for. I do want to remind you guys, I do live stream Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. US Eastern. What is that? AU? Sorry. AM, which is Eastern, right? So if you are in another part of the country, just convert that time to yours, and you can tune in live and hang out with me while I go over charts throughout the week and talk about potential trade setups. Thank you guys very much for watching. Remember also that my link down below to join our Discord is there, and you can see all of the trades that I am taking, and then there is also a promo code there for you to get a discount if you want to try it out for a month. See if it's a fit for you. I am highly, highly confident that you will like it and want to stick around. So check it out, and maybe we'll see some of you guys in there. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week ahead, and we'll see you next time.